All right, so let's talk about what is on the application. So of course, it's your personal information, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. I'm going to go through each of these. So personal information, the rigor of the curriculum in your GPA, test scores, activities, whether it's your extracurriculars, paid, unpaid work experience, other attributes and awards that you would include with your activities, your personal statement essays, and sometimes there are supplemental or additional essays, recommendation letters, demonstrated interest, and that's what I'm going to show you that. I'm going to hop to a database where you can find that out. And then in some cases, if you're applying to a school with a visual component or performance component, there may be a portfolio, a video, or essays, creative writing essays, or some type of submission of your work. So when it comes to that personal data, that's really the information that all schools need. It just gives general information about who you are. It allows them to know how to contact you, your demographic information. Some of them, if you're applying on the Common App, they're going to ask for information about your parents, their highest level of degree obtained, number of colleges. So they just get general information about their student body. So sometimes family information, history. They may ask, do you have any siblings who attend our university or graduated from, or grandparents, things like that. And then they typically do ask about disciplinary issues that they just want to be made aware of. So that's just kind of general information. Excuse me. The next part really deals with that rigor, the grade point average and the rigor. So that was the second piece. And what colleges are asking themselves is, did this student challenge themselves? So what you need to say to yourself is, did I challenge myself? When I look back at my freshman, sophomore, junior, and if you're in your junior year and you have time to plan, in the spring, your senior year, did I challenge myself taking classes that I know would push me a little bit, but I've done well at this particular level, so let me try to take this next advanced class. So they are looking at all of the classes that are offered and then asking themselves, based on what's offered, what did the student do? So they're asking, they want to know about the number of AP exams. Your guidance counselor provides a school report where they talk about the program, whether it's regular, college prep, honors, advanced, the number of AP classes offered, the maximum number that students can take. So let's say your school offers 20 AP classes and students can only take 15, that's reported by the school. So schools are disclosing this information to the colleges. And again, what happens if a school is working with someone, or if a school, typically schools, and when I mean schools, colleges and universities, that admissions rep is familiar with an area. So if they have students who attended from your school in the past, they get to know your school, they get to know what's offered. They begin to know some of these things. So because typically also, and I've seen this happen, a lot of times they're reviewing applications by geography. So maybe, if a lot of schools apply, or a lot of students apply to a certain school, then they're looking at all of those students together and making decisions. So that's really important to know and to consider, because what do they want to know? Well, they want to know, did you challenge yourself? So they're looking at the school that you attend. They're evaluating within the school context, as I just mentioned, which is very important. They're looking at the rigor, just how challenging is that class. They're looking at your course load. Did you go on the lighter end, moderate, a little bit heavier end? You're looking at your grade trends. Are your grades steady? Are your grades increasing? Are they decreasing? If there's a decrease, there's an opportunity on the application to explain, why there may be a change in your grades. Maybe you moved, death in the family, illness, whatever. It's not an excuse, but it is an opportunity to explain kind of what happened. And then they're looking at weighted versus unweighted. Now, this is really important because, of course, you want to take challenging classes like AP classes, weight your GPA. So grade point averages are typically on a 4.0 scale, meaning an A is a 4. So it's assigned points. So if you get an A, you get 4 points, and a B is 3 points, and a C is 2, and a D is 1, and an F is 0, right? But, if you're taking more advanced classes, then instead of a 4-point scale, now you're being graded on a 5-point scale. And so that's why, sometimes students will have like a 4-point whatever GPA. That's weighted. That's a little bit heavier, so to speak, than the unweighted. But what I want you to know, which is really important to know, is that your weighted, when schools are evaluating your application, your weighted gets converted to an unweighted score. So if your weighted GPA is a 4.35, your unweighted may be a 4.0 or a 3.99, something like that. So they convert your unweighted to your weighted, and they're evaluating everyone based on the unweighted. I think I said that. Yeah. Based on the unweighted GPA. I want to make sure everybody understood that. Not to say don't take the rigorous courses. By all means, take them. Challenge yourself. But what happens when they're comparing, one student with a 3.2 to another student with 3.2, it's all unweighted. Everyone becomes unweighted. And then class rank, if your school does that. I know some schools do, some schools don't. But it's really important to know what your rank is. If your school ranks, a lot of times students don't even know what their rank is, but are you number 12 out of 392? Or are you number 179 out of 1,200 and whatever? So kind of know where do you stand in relationship to the rest of the senior class or your junior class or the class of whatever, 2021, 2022. All right. Now, I won't go a lot into this because we did a whole lesson on this. I think it was week 3 or whatever, but you can go back through and look. But the reason why I wanted to mention this is because your test scores, if you submit them, are considered. Now, I do want to explain, and I said it before, and I just want to always say it, test optional admissions is very different sometimes, or it could be different from getting merit scholarships at the school level. So a school may be test optional when they come to admitting you because they recognize that you haven't had the opportunity to take the test. But I'm seeing on some applications and, with some schools, the only way they can determine whether or not a student gets maybe the highest level of scholarship at their school is by their test scores and their GPA. So they are still, not every school, but some schools are still considering test scores. Really important because you need to begin to go to either act.org or collegeboard.org. Take a look at upcoming tests, dates in your area. If you're a junior, sophomore, begin to prepare for those and take them. Don't think that, I can just avoid it. No, you need to plan to take them, okay? I think that they were very gracious with the, current seniors because they came out of their junior year, couldn't test, and now they're in their senior year. But as test centers begin to open up and the country begins to open up a little bit more, I think, those that do look to test scores are going to have that expectation, even though they're test optional, especially if, again, let me go back here, evaluated within school context, especially if other students in your school are sitting for the test, other students, in your school have taken the test. They may say to themselves, well, why didn't she bother to take the test? Obviously, it's available. Obviously, the student had access to it. If it's not offered at their school, they could have driven to a neighboring town. So, that could put a little bit of question in their mind. Okay. So, again, your academic strengths, check out that lesson. I really went deep there. The other thing they want to know is, what do I do outside of the classroom? So of course we have our coursework, which is required, but how do you spend your time outside of the classroom? What are your activities, your extracurriculars, your clubs, paid, unpaid work experiences, your responsibilities in the home, volunteering, service commitments, just kind of what do you do? Because again, that speaks to not only what's important to you, but again, they're saying to themselves, this is what the student is going to contribute to our campus. So you'll find that they will ask 2 things. Number 1, what are your activities? So you'll list your extracurriculars, your clubs, all that you participate, sports, athletics, any of that, volunteering. And then they'll also ask, do you think you'll participate in this in college? Now, be honest. I mean, don't just say yes, 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 and you have no intention, but Again, it helps them think through what's important to you, because they just want this application process to be a way to learn more about you. And so, if you did an activity for 3 years and you don't think you want to do it in college, that's okay. Maybe you did Model UN and you enjoyed it and it was a great experience, but you decide, I don't want to do Model UN in college. I want to have other experiences, or I don't want to devote that level of time commitment to that. That's perfectly okay. But again, it's your extracurriculars. So when it comes to your activities, your extracurriculars, those things outside of the classroom, they're looking for dedication. They're looking for consistency and depth. So it's okay. It's perfectly okay in your ninth grade year if you're exploring and you have maybe 4 or 5 clubs, things that you're just simply participating in because you're learning more about each one. But as you continue to go in 10th, 11th, and even in your 12th grade, you want to go a little bit deeper. So you want to deepen that level of commitment and not just participate in a whole lot of things. So maybe now you're narrowing down a few things and you're stepping into a leadership role, whether you're leading a project, you step into an elected role, you run for maybe treasurer of a club or vice president or whatever. And so, you want to go a little bit deeper in that particular activity. They're also looking for ways that you're demonstrating leadership, whether you're leading people, again, projects, but what are you doing to influence others and to have an impact? And don't neglect part-time jobs. A lot of times students do have work responsibilities and schools want to know that. They look at that as an activity. Matter of fact, on the Common App, there's a drop-down box for that, so they've made provisions for that because they know some students do work. So don't neglect to list that because it is important. And then internships, maybe you had a summer internship for a week or 2 weeks, or, maybe during your break in December, or maybe you were able to do some job shadowing. And it doesn't matter if it's paid or unpaid, but you were able to take a look at a career path that you're potentially interested in with someone who's actually doing that work. Your community service, again, it shows that you do want to serve and you make a commitment to someone or something outside of you. Family responsibilities, again, that could tie in with the part-time job. And then athletics, but really what you do outside of the classroom, they're asking themselves, does this student go above and beyond in any other area? So they can see your grades, they can see your test scores if you take your test, but they're asking themselves, where else does this student commit themselves, okay?